Hello everyone. I'd like to do this video just to do a bit of commentary and my opinions on something about a few questions and comments on some of my videos. And the topic in question is the concept of the alpha male, masculine, alpha male. In my time just doing this work, I've come to the opinion that this kind of goal of becoming an alpha male or trying to act like an alpha male, more accurately speaking, that is counterproductive. The reason is that the idea of an alpha male, it's kind of a contrived idea. It's like saying be a man and find manhood. I think that we are all at different levels of progression, and when we bring something like this up, there's a lot of ambiguity. We are all at the same path, and we're all heading towards the same direction. So we have the gist of where we want to go, and we understand intuitively what is right and what is not so good for us. So when we speak about this, we all bring our own perspectives across, and what happens is that we have conflicting ideas and conflicting images and projections about what an alpha male is. Instead, I'd like to do a quick subtle reframe, about the strategies of maturing as a man. As you all know, I've been going through the book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover because of its depth of meaning, and in the future I'll be going through books that branch off this book here in more in terms of exercises and guided meditations. But the King, Warrior, Magician, Lover basis of archetypes is a really good guide, because it reinforces 4 aspects of us that we need to develop and continue to develop throughout our lives. So we have the archetype of the king, which is of leadership and organization, the archetype of the warrior, which promotes action, and the magician, which is creativity, and the lover, which is compassion. These 4 aspects, I think, is really the cornerstones of growing up, developing these sides and channeling the shadows into more mature and developed aspects of us. The main strategy I'd like to go through today is this one. If you imagine the act of being a man, let's say if we continuously strive in one direction, so here, let's say that's masculinity as a concept, and that's here we are, and we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing towards it, pushing here and here and here, and trying to, let's say this represents our goal, and in this we're trying to push forward towards acting a certain way and speaking a certain way and relating to others in a certain way. I do not think that this is a sustainable way of living. The way I see it is that becoming an alpha male is an outward sign of strength, and in my opinion, a continuous outward sign of strength is a sign of internal weakness. Think of it in this way: if a man, if anything really, tries always to become stronger, well, it will become stronger and firmer and harder until it becomes brittle and shatters. And that's what I see a lot of the time, just heading out and being part of the seduction community and seeing what people do. What I think is a lot more powerful is, instead, if our first step is actually the other way, if we just take 1 or 2 steps backwards, and we find places of vulnerability inside of us, you know, we just keep going and going. But as a first step, you know, half a step backwards. This is why in a lot of my videos, I encourage people to look at where their deficiencies are, where they're still acting as a boy, where they are emotionally vulnerable. And the reason this is, I think, the correct strategy is that it gives you leverage. It gives you a background of power. Once you go inside and understand yourself and you become comfortable with where you're insecure, you can start working on it. And what I see happen a lot of the time is that it gives you momentum, so that after one or two steps back, it gives you the momentum to take a giant leap forward to where you want it to be. So even though, you know, it might be uncomfortable looking at your dark side and your shadows and your vulnerabilities, it is actually the first step of something a lot more powerful. Being vulnerable is extremely potent tool, and I recommend it when you find time to yourself, or when something comes up for you, that you allow these vulnerabilities to come in. This can be incredibly powerful when you're with a woman, to be able to be vulnerable, because it shows that you are not afraid to go and face the challenges in life. And once you overcome that, the momentum, I mean, this momentum, that is very powerful. And it's actually, you know, 2, 3 times, 10 times more powerful than trying to project your images and trying to uphold this thing here. Remember, life is a dynamic process, and your insights, your emotions, and your self-identity, that is all a dynamic process. You cannot you cannot just hold to an idea. It needs to evolve, and a lot of your ideas will actually break down. Look at yourself, you know, journal, and just find your ideas and just see how they continuously break down and evolve and emerge. It's a real stepping stone progress, you know. If you take one step back and two steps forward, two steps forward and one step back, just keep continuously progressing. You know, that's a lot more powerful way of living. Okay, thanks, gentlemen.